everyone, welcome back to the Literacy Volunteers of Harrison County YouTube channel. We're a nonprofit United Way agency and we provide these videos to you for educational purposes. If you remember the last video that I did was on health and wellness, kind of a generalization, and what I'm going to do now is to break down each individual topic and talk about how those topics relate to health and wellness and things that you can do in your own life to help you become healthier and more well. So the first lesson, actually lesson 2, is on eating whole foods. That was the very first thing that we talked about last time. So when we were talking about eating whole foods, what are whole foods? If you want to go to the grocery store and you want to buy whole foods, what are some examples of whole foods? Those are foods that are as close to their natural form as possible. When you look at them, you know that's how they were picked off of a tree or came out of the ground or came off of the cow, pig, etc. So some examples are whole grains, that you would eat those instead of refined grain. A refined grain would be a loaf of bread. That's not in its natural form. But a whole grain would be like quinoa, something that has a lot of protein that would help you. Fruits, vegetables, and beans, we all know what those are. And then if you're going to make a decision, you might want a skinless chicken breast instead of chicken nuggets. Chicken nuggets are highly processed. That is not how it looks when it comes from the chicken. Fresh berries with your breakfast instead of toaster pastries or sugary cereals are a good thing to supplement when we're trying to eat whole foods. Those foods retain their fiber as well as phytochemicals and nutrients, and those are two of the topics we're going to talk about today because those are often removed when we process foods. They're taken out, so we're not getting those healthy foods. And then also when we eat whole foods, that helps us to prevent diseases. And we're going to talk about that here in a little bit as well. So here are the reasons why we want to eat whole foods. The first one I just talked about are those phytochemicals. When we see this, usually this means plant. So these are biological active plant food components, like lettuce and cucumbers and berries and all of that stuff. And here's an example. They are antioxidants. And when we talk about something that is an antioxidant, as a process in your body, if you eat sugar, if you eat glucose, is just another name for sugar, you eat that and there are little tiny things in your cells called mitochondria that provide you with energy. Energy in the form of ATP. Just like you put gas in your car, ATP is the gas for the body. When we eat sugar and it's broken down by the mitochondria to form ATP, it releases what are called free radicals. And those free radicals attack your cells. Okay, those are the oxidants. Anti in biology or anywhere else means against. So we're looking for these little components that go against the oxidants, that get rid of those free radicals that destroy your body. So there are different antioxidants, and they've given us two examples. One is lycopene, and that's found, it's a red rich compound that's found in tomatoes, and that helps your body also. And when you see this word carotenoid, that just means it's a colorful pigment. When you look at leaves outside now in the middle of summer and they're green, that's chlorophyll. When you see them in October and they're red, yellow, orange, that's carotenoids. Those are, or a pumpkin, that's carotenoid, squash, things like that. Those are colors in plants that aren't green. And then anthocyanin, cyan means blue, and those are antioxidants that give deep blue colors to berries. Blueberries, raspberries, blackberries, that's a deep blue color. Those are antioxidants that you want in your body. The second thing are nutrient shortages. And if you have a nutrient shortage in your body, you can replace those by eating whole foods. A lot of us get too little vitamin C. I put that twice, sorry. Vitamin A, Mg is magnesium, and K is potassium. Those are things in your body that you don't have a lot of that you might want to supplement by eating whole foods, right? And when we eat those, they lower our risk of health problems like cancer, heart disease, high blood pressure, and diabetes, right? Those are what nutrients are for. We want to eat good fats. Bad fats would be like a candy bar, right? Or even sometimes a cheeseburger. Those are bad fats. So you want to reduce the fats that are bad for you. So you always see these trans fats, saturated fats. If you read a label and you see those are the ones you want to get rid of. I wanted to show you the difference between a saturated and an unsaturated fat. That has to do with the organic chemistry of the molecule. When we look here, we've got a bunch of carbons singly bonded together, and then these hydrogens bonded to those. When you say saturated fat, that means that this molecule is saturated with hydrogen molecules, and we don't want that. What it does is it gets into your bloodstream bloodstream in your arteries, and it causes plaque, right? That causes atherosclerosis, which causes your arteries to get smaller, and then you have major problems. You want unsaturated fats, and to unsaturate means we add double bonds here. So we have fewer hydrogen molecules to saturate our fats, things like avocados and things that are good fats for your body, right? Salmon, omega-3s. I think it talks a little bit about omega-3s later. And see that, yeah, those are added to the processed foods that you eat. Instead, we want to eat good fats that are full of omega-3s. Like I just told you, salmon, avocados, different plants have those in them. The fourth thing is fiber. Most whole plant foods are rich in fiber, and that we don't get out of processed foods and junk foods and things like that, fast food. And this helps to keep your GI tract moving, and it will help you feel fuller longer. So if you're worried about, oh, if I eat whole foods, I might get hungry. That's not true, because you have a lot of fiber in those foods and a lot of protein, and your body takes longer to break those down and to use those, right? And that helps you to fight heart disease and diabetes. Also, it helps you with your blood sugar control and blood lipids. Lipids are just fats. That's just a fancy name for fat. And weight. Helps you to control your weight, especially in adults. What we want to do is also eat things that have fewer extra chemicals, extra calories, added sugars, anything that you see on there that you don't recognize the name. Those are just additives that they've added to preserve your foods, or to add bulk to your foods, or color to your foods, or mostly sugar to your foods. Whole grains, those are rich in vitamins and minerals and those phytochemicals that we talked about in number 1. And those will lower your level of blood sugar, your glucose, and insulin. And insulin is the hormone that regulates blood glucose levels, right? So we want to eat more whole grains, and we will, that will lead us to less, this is complicated, visceral adipose tissue. Adipose is just fat. In your body, around your organs, that's where your body stores fat. That's called the viscera. It's visceral in there. And so when they talk about that, that's the worst kind of fat, the fat that lines your organs there. If you just have belly fat or, butt fat or whatever, that's easier to get rid of than visceral fat, because that's very bad for your body to carry around all that extra fat around your organs and in the viscera. And so we want to look at eating for your body type, okay? So we talked last week about macros, macromolecules, right? Big molecules. The 3 macromolecules in your body are proteins, fats, and carbohydrates. And those are pretty easy to differentiate between. So our body type's going to give us a clue to our metabolism and our hormones that work, and it'll tell us how we process carbohydrates and how much protein that we need. So if we're looking at our body types, you can determine one of the 3 body types by just these simple things. Ecto means outside, morph means shape. And so these are outer shapes, outside shape. Like, metamorphosis is a butterfly changing into a caterpillar. It's changing shape. So these people are usually thin, and they're long and lanky. Tall people, thin, long. They have smaller bone structure, and their shoulders tend to be narrower than their hips, right? They have trouble gaining weight, which is a trouble that a lot of us would like to have, because they have a speedy metabolism. So it seems that whatever they eat, they're burning it off quickly, and they can handle more carbs than other body types can handle, because those are the things that are going to fuel your fat. Anytime you eat a carbohydrate, your body's going to store it as fat, because it wants to use that in order, unless you burn it off immediately. If you eat a sugary candy bar and go run and burn it off, then it's not stored at all. And then the middle, meso means middle. So these are the middle-shaped people, and they are more muscle dominant, and they have an hourglass figure, for women, and usually a man would be stocky. A medium frame, and they can gain muscle easily, right, in the middle. The last type is endomorph, so that would mean inside shape, right? And they have difficulty losing weight. This is where most people fall. They have more body fat, we've just talked about. Sometimes you would say they are curvaceous, and you would carry your weight in your belly, your hips, and your thighs. These people are more prone to what's called insulin resistance, and they need to watch their carb intake. So what I did down here was to explain to you what insulin resistance is. Your cells can't effectively take glucose from your blood, that sugar that's floating around in your blood, and your cells, if they can't process it, they'll process that. It leads in through the phospholipid bilayer with proteins. It's all brought in together, right, through osmosis. Hopefully y'all learned this in high school. And your pancreas will compensate by ramping up insulin production. That's a negative feedback loop. So the less insulin it senses you have, the more it's going to produce, and you flood your body with insulin. Well, those insulin spikes and dips and spikes and dips lead you to become resistant to that, so that when that is in your blood, you can't get rid of it as easily as normal as you normally would be able to. All right, so what we want to look at is if we're eating these whole foods and we've determined our body type, the next thing we need to do is to see what we need to eat a day. So these are our macro ratios per body type. Now, ectomorphs need to eat about 55% carbohydrates, 25% proteins, and 20% fats. Remember, they can process carbohydrates better than the rest of us, so we can up our carbohydrate intake here. Now, mesomorphs want 40% carbohydrates, 30 proteins, and 30 fats. And then the endomorphs, really low carbohydrates here, right? 25%. 35% proteins, and 40% fats. So what we're going to do the next time, we're going to talk about, since the second thing was working out and exercising, we're going to look at one thing, how each body type should exercise in order to be able to lose weight, maintain muscle, build extra muscle, whatever it is that you want to do. And then we're going to get a few exercise videos that you can find on our channel to help you along your journey here on health and wellness. And so we would like to thank you very much for watching this video today. Please subscribe, share these with your friends, and give us a big thumbs up.